Catherine? I have a small confession to make.
How small?
You know that conversation we had about getting out of town for a week or so?
Yeah, well, it might be a good idea. You know, things have been pretty tough for me in Port Charles. And for you, too.
Yeah, Althea.
Yeah, Althea.
I know you've had some personal problems as well.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for understanding that.
So what do you say to getting away for a while?
I'd give it some serious thought.
I've gone a step further than that.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, well, Nicholas invited us to be his guests next week. It seems he has this island in the Bahamas. So I accepted his invitation.
For both of us?
Yeah. Well, it'd be easy enough to cancel while we're still on the plane. But I want you to think about it. It would be so wonderful down there. It's all this warm sun and blue water and white sand. And you wouldn't be under any pressure of any kind. Not from me or anyone else. We could talk and maybe open up to each other.
Yeah, we could. It sounds lovely, Paul.
You don't know how happy that makes me.
Well, I'm glad for that.
And you?
Well, I think it might resolve a few questions that I have, too.
This is turning into one of the best days of my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has put on the seatbelt sign. We're due to land in Port Charles in about 10 minutes.
I'll pick you up at 7:30 then.
That'll be fine.
It was a perfect day, darling.
Oh, wasn't it a wonderful day for you? And for me, too. I was very proud of you.
Were you really? Thank you, sweetheart. I'll see you later. Huh?
All right.
Danae, Mary. I'll see you later.
Hello.
Mary, I'm going to leave it up to you to help me pick out some summer clothes. I'm going to the Bahamas for a week.
Bahamas?
Yes, well, Paul and... Hello, dear. Yes, Paul and I are going to the Bahamas for 1 week.
Am I hearing correctly?
Yes, well, if you heard that Paul and I are leaving for the Bahamas, then you heard correctly.
That is the best news I've heard in a long, long time. I've always told you that Paul's the right man for you. He's steady, he's a calming influence on you, and he will never interfere with your career. I couldn't be happier.
Well, glad to hear that, but don't rush me into anything here now. Mary, let's talk about the wardrobe, because it's very important that
I will let
quick.
you get to that right away. Now, Mary will explain these papers on the table for you, and I will call you first thing in the morning. You have made me very happy tonight, too. Good night.
Oh, good night.
Good night.
Would you like a humble opinion about something?
Mary, you've never had a humble opinion in your whole life. Why start now?
Oh, darling, don't go with him. Don't go on that trip with Paul.
Mary, don't you realize that the only way that I'm going to feel sure about Paul is if I spend time with him away from Port Charles?
And away from Robert Scarpio.
Yes.
You see, you do feel something about him. Oh, Catherine, how can you go away with Paul, much less marry him?
Mary, I know I have feelings about Robert. I just don't know what they are. I mean, I feel confused. He exasperates me.
He probably makes you feel alive for the first time in your poor sheltered life.
Well, I'm a little bit inexperienced, but...
I'm sorry, Catherine. That's a bit of an understatement, though.
Oh, all right. Naive. But, you know, I missed out on a lot of things when I was a little girl and being cooped up behind that piano. And I watched my parents and the safety and the love in the relationship, and I really thought I could have that with Paul.
Oh, darling, you know, your parents were married for a long time, but they grew into that safe and loving relationship. It wasn't always like that.
What do you mean?
I mean, there were sparks between them. There was fire. There was passion.
My parents?
Oh, yes, Catherine. How do you think they stayed married so long? Oh, they loved each other deeply. There was such passion. I mean, it kind of got, well, cooled over the years, but, you know, underneath, it was always there, believe me.
Mary, I never heard you talk this way about that.
Well, you see, it's high time I did. Think about it, Catherine. You don't want to spend your whole life with a man devoid of passion and fire. Those qualities you and I know Paul is sorely lacking in.
You don't think that Robert Scorpio is missing these qualities?
What do you think?
I think I better go up and find some clothes for the Bahamas.
Catherine, you're making the mistake of your life if you go on this trip. Catherine, I'm begging you, don't go. Oh, my baby. Please don't go.